What's good, Cadillaktrackz? Quick tip number 99, and we almost there. Today's quick tip is about the MIDI mode on machine. I'm sure you know, if you have machine, that you can hold shift and you push that MIDI button, it goes into MIDI mode. Or I think on the new ones, yeah, we still hold shift and we push that button and it goes to MIDI mode. And you know, in machine, a lot of times, I'm sure when you use machine, you start off with it in regular mode and you start to make the drums and sequence everything out. Some people even use machine to build the whole beat, you know, because they just love machine. Machines, this is the sequencer down here. It's so small, and when you're trying to grab notes and stuff and edit, it can be a real pain in the ass. But Fruity Loops editor is real big, so you have a lot of room, you know, in the piano roll. So anyway, the quick tip today is about the MK3 MIDI mode. And as you know, I have the MK3 custom template, and what that is, that's a MIDI mode template. So when I hold shift and I go to MIDI mode, a lot of times when you go to MIDI mode, you might not think it's useful, because you go to MIDI mode, you start pushing buttons, and you notice those buttons, they're not doing nothing. Some of the play and the stop buttons might not work, and then you have all these extra buttons, they do nothing. Also, if you go to the pad and you try to play with the pad, you have no more scale mode, so the pad's in chromatic order, making a melody on the pads can be very hard unless you already know different sequences. And you might know, you know, if I hit pad 2, 4, 7, 8, it's a nice melody. But anyway, in the chromatic pads, you really can't play and get really down to it like you can in scale mode. That's why, you know, you might use scale mode or chord mode a lot in machine. So this quick tip is about MIDI mode. MIDI mode is just what I use and what we use on Fruity Loops. If you set yourself up a custom template, like in my last video I just showed you, or if you purchase the MK3 template, consider making one yourself. It might take you a minute, but it's very doable. All you can do is hold shift and push MIDI, and when you get into MIDI mode, you can do a lot of functions. My template, I can control all the transport functions. I can browse through sounds. I can even do some special unique things that you know, you just can't find the button to do on Fruity Loops. But with this MIDI mode, what's good about MIDI mode is that if you set yourself up a scale or MIDI mode, you can actually use the machine without actually using the software. And what I mean is that you can use it to control other things, you know, like I do with the start. You can see right now my start, stop, and play and buttons like that lighten up. And I'm changing the tempo, you can see right there, and I'm hitting the undo. It says nothing to undo. So I'm changing the patterns. Look at the patterns are changing right now. I'm jogging. If I open this right here, I'm jogging through this. I hate when it does this, but I'm jogging through. I'm going up and down. So I'm doing different things with the machine MK3 because I've assigned them to different functions, or I've assigned, when I push that key for MIDI notes or controller changes or whatever program changes, and different variations between the three. When I hit those notes, different things happen on Fruity Loops. There was no key or no guide to set it up. I just had to do it by trial. But what's good about setting a custom scale up or using machine and MIDI mode is that I can just open up a plugin, and so can you. You can just open up a plugin, any plugin. I'm gonna open up Nexus. Hold up. Alright, that took forever, but I didn't want to talk while it was loading because sometimes it squeaks. I've heard in the video playback. But Nexus finally opened up for me, and if I have my machine in MIDI mode, I can. This is right now in the A scale that I set up. So I set up a scale A minor on the pad. I assign the pads to play the keys of A minor. So. And that's without going into scale mode on the machine MK3. The machine does have a scale mode, and you could pick a different key. So I had to set that up manually so that I can go into MIDI mode and hit different keys. That way we can still use the scale mode function. Unfortunately, we don't have the chord mode function. So what we can do is still do that inside the machine and drag them into Fruity Loops if we need different chords or unique chords. The chord mode on machine MK3 it's okay, but it has like a list, I guess, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 chords, and that's it. You can't change them or nothing. It's just you'll burn through them and burn them out quickly. But anyway, this is just a quick tip about using the MIDI mode on Machine. It's good because all these buttons can be assigned to different functions, so you can control all your transport functions, different unique functions on the mixer. You can have different things set up, and controlling different knobs on different effects. You might have an effect, you can have different knobs linked up, and all the time you can still use the pads like MIDI mode. You can still use a scale on your pads. A minor, A major, Dorian or pentatonic or whatever you like, or you can just have chromatic where they're just going up and down the whole piano. So you can actually use your pads like a piano and use all these extra buttons for functions. MIDI mode on the machines is great, but you need to have some type of setup. You can't just push MIDI mode and start doing stuff. It's not going to do nothing until you assign these functions. Your MIDI controller has all these buttons on it. And you got the new MK3, I'm looking at it now, it's got like 50 buttons on it. So you got 50 things you can do quickly, but you're gonna have to assign it. There is no key. I looked all over the internet. There is no just make the key do this and it'll do that. You have to try it out manually, meaning that you have to assign a function, push a button, see what it does, cause and effect. But this is Cadillaktrackz. Just a quick tip. I'm just ranting really, but I just want to go over the MIDI out function. Hold shift, push MIDI out. You can set up all these pads to stuff. You can set up all these buttons to functions. It can be very useful. It's how I set up the MK3 custom template. If you haven't seen that, look at my videos. I'm doing tons of Fruity Loop functions, and the whole time I have a dedicated MIDI pad with the minor scale because I love minor chords and scales. It's the type of music I like. So I was just thinking, it's so universal. I don't even have to use Fruity Loops. You can use any program because now at this point it's sending out certain MIDI notes that different programs might respond to. The pads are always going to be mapped out to a MIDI or minor scale. So I could open up Logic or Ableton or whatever I was going to use in the world, and now I got a MIDI scale right here on my pads. It's crazy, but just take advantage of the MIDI out function. Cadillaktrackz 1.